Now bring up my therapy notes on you. Questions I want to ask.
Let's go.
Yeah, we got well-kept Tommy Trautwein here in the building. Thanks for joining me, dude.
Yeah, my gosh, my pleasure. Finally.
Yeah, it's a good morning, 9:41. And yeah, we've tried to make this happen probably 4 or 5 times now.
Goodness. Yeah, I know. Last time the power went out for the entire day.
The whole day.
Yeah.
I guess, what were they, chopping down a tree next door?
Yeah, they were chopping down a tree next door that almost fell. I guess it did fall on our fence out front.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it was. I came back home and all of a sudden there was just this giant tree on top of our fence. I was like, okay,
it was
cool.
a lovely day to try to record some vocals. But
we're here.
I guess we couldn't because the power was out.
Exactly. We're doing it. Why don't you tell the audience at home what kind of microphone you brought today?
Hey, yes, I brought from just down the hall my Electro Voice RE55 from the 60s. And this one, I think, was from like Hollywood Sound Studios.
Wow.
That I just picked up recently as a pair, but it's one of my favorite microphones, omnidirectional. It's the the game show host mic. So
yeah, it looks really sick. First of all, you said it had like a mid range, more of a mid range,
got like
less of a low range.
It being omnidirectional kind of like makes it a little less like it's harder to get super boomy and it kind of picks me up wherever I am.
Right.
I guess, but yeah, it's kind of like more of a mid range. Vintage TV weatherman kind of sound.
I thought you might be holding it and tossing it back and forth between us.
You never know. You never know how this interview might go.
Yeah, we might get a little unhinged.
Might get a little show tunes happening. But yeah, it's an awesome mic. I use it on everything: drums, vocals, guitars, acoustics, everything. It's the best.
Nice.
It's just got the sound, man.
Well, let's start it off with the album, The Inquirer. I always like to start with the newest project, and while it is your newest project, it did come out about 6 months ago, right? April 1st.
Came out April 1st.
No joke.
Oh yeah, no right. It was a long time coming, I would say. We've been working on that record slowly, kind of I guess early 2020. I guess from like 2019, fall of 2019 on, I was like producing as like a gig and kind of doing it seriously, and so the minute I kind of started doing that, I was, grateful enough to be in Athens and around so many friends who were grateful enough to trust me with their tunes. And so like around the first time I started kind of putting out good stuff or better quality stuff, I would say, and getting better and also just getting my name out there as a producer and just a good hang, I guess. I started just booking up the whole year with projects when COVID hit. I guess I kind of started recording and getting my name out there, and then started like being like, hey, you should come record with me. Like, hey, I would love to just like whatever, we'll figure out money for cheap. Let's just do it because I want to learn. And when COVID hit, it was kind of like a weird thing because I had just put out Well Kept's first record and was like, all right, we're gonna like do the tour thing. We're gonna, I'm gonna try to give this record a shot. And then COVID hit, and of course, blow to the knee.
Right.
So I kind of was like, all right, what am I gonna do now? Because I just graduated like into 2020 in May, and from UGA. And so I kind of I guess it was around May 2020. It was like, all right, things are kind of starting to open back up. I was like, hey, come record with me. I would love to, we're all doing nothing, so like I would love to just do this all the time. And so I reached out to all my friends, and lo and behold, I was booked like that whole summer and stuff. And once I started kind of doing that, I kind of quickly realized that how hard it is to also do your own music and record your own music and stuff. And so thankfully being so busy, which is not the case for, a lot of music workers. So
yeah,
I was, able to be working creatively and be making music. But yeah, Well Kept was definitely pushed to the side, and I kind of like was happy to, because we just put out that record, and I was like, you know what, when I've got something to say, it'll come out. And that's kind of how this record happened, through like, post recording sessions, post working at my job at Maypole down the street. I would get home and like unexpectedly just, close the studio door and just start like, make Hammerhead Corvette in a night, write it and record it, finish it.
That was one night?
That was like 11 p.m. to 5 a.m.
Wow.
night. And same thing with Settling, same thing with Personality. A lot of the songs on the record kind of happened like that, in those wee hours of time that I didn't even like know that I would have. And so it was a cool start because I didn't even know that I had a record coming. It was just like I was just working on songs whenever they came, and it was really nice and freeing. I was really excited about those ones because they like very mysterious to me because I didn't overthink anything. It was just like there they are, and now they're here. What now? I get to like look at it like what is this thing that just came out of me? And so,
it's always a wild feeling.
Yeah, and
when
I guess
it
like
just kind of comes out.
Exactly. It was very. It's like I chase that all the time, and then I try and fail a lot of times for that too. But so kind of like during the summer, I had like I had a couple of those songs, like a couple things, the makings of a record, being like, okay, and I've got a bunch of ideas and been playing some new songs with the band too, and we hadn't seen each other in a long time, and so it was kind of just like, how do we play this? And I think I booked a couple weeks, or maybe like a week for myself, which I rarely do, and some of the guys came down and we kind of just had a work week and got a lot done, and that's where like Heart Attack came about and Inquirer and Red Light and stuff, and so kind of the rest of the record kind of started its bones there, and then I kind of slowly chipped away at it until like winter time, probably like November 2021, where I finally sat down to mix it, and so but I had been releasing singles along the way too, so I don't even know what I'm on about now, but basically that was the saga of the recording of the record. Just like, it was cool how it just came about, and I didn't even, I kind of just let it come as it did, and I didn't really try to stress it too much, and just really fun. But
did that feel different than the first album?
First, yeah, I guess so, because the first album we kind of just like got in the studio for 2 days, did bass and drums on everything, and then kind of worked out the songs, and then went hard during tracking like another month, and then it was done. And we didn't. This is before I even like totally called myself a producer. I was just like trying to make the songs, and so that was it's a weird change when you're like, all right, I do this for a living. I gotta like, maybe people expect this thing to be good, or I don't know. But it's also your own music, so you just obsess about it more. But at that time, the first record, I was just like, man, I'm just happy to be making tunes, and I still feel that way too. But in terms of just like, screw it, whatever we want to do, we can do it, and it's gonna be good. Yeah, it's gonna be. If we think it's good, it'll be all right.
Well, I always listen to the Inquirer if I'm gonna listen to Well Kept, but then I was like, I should go back. Obviously, we're gonna be talking. Let me go listen in the meantime. And it's a great record, but to me, I feel like I noticed quite a big difference in quality of production.
Oh yeah.
From your end. Mm-hmm. So, what do you feel like have been some like standout lessons that you've learned?
Yeah.
That really kind of made that second album better. Also, shout out to the train that's right outside of our window.
If you hear it, but she comes every
it's like every 2 hours,
every
maybe.
2 hours, sometimes, including the morning, and
sometimes more.
Oh yeah, but
anyway,
that's a good question. I think in that spirit of like just not even thinking about it, I was kind of like me and Elijah and Hampton and Chase. We're just making the songs, that's what we thought about. It was like I wasn't totally like production wise and like soundscape wise. I think I listen to that record and I really like it because it's so raw and so like sounds like a band kind of thing. It's just like a couple guitars, bass, drums, vocals, a couple synths, and that was kind of what we did. And whereas Inquirer, I kind of took a step of like, I wanted to build like more of a world and like use all the recording tricks that I was, have been able to learn and utilize throughout my time producing a bunch of other, other bands and all different genres. So but in the meantime, it's definitely got that like youthful, like young band, like this is how we sound when we play these songs, nothing more, nothing less. And so, but yeah, definitely like engineering wise, that was like my second thing I'd ever like actually mixed, So it was kind of like I listen to it sometimes and I cringe, and then sometimes I'm like, dang, how did I get that bass sound on that one song? It's all recording is like the more you learn, the more you're like, man, I don't know what the heck I'm doing. Yeah, in my scenario,
it does feel more raw.
Yeah,
which is not a bad thing.
Yeah, no, yeah.
Some of the rawest records are timeless.
Yeah, definitely.
And you can't quite fake raw.
Yeah, definitely. Exactly. But no, I think that's a very, that's what I was trying to do, is just like kind of make, my producer's record, I guess. Like, I don't know. I just wanted to, it was because it happened such a long span of time. It was more so, and at that time I didn't even know if it was going to come out. Like, I don't even know what was going to happen of it. I was just making songs by things I was inspired by and how I was writing, and just kind of letting the songs go where they wanted to go. And I think just with all the same players and mixing them all in one time, it kind of turned into this more cohesive thing than I ever thought. And I get a lot of compliments on how cohesive it is. And to me, I'm like, oh gosh, thank goodness. But also even listen to it, and I think that was like, in mixing, I was really like, all right, I want to make this thing like feel like a world, and like, how do I stitch all of these different genres, and like, not that they're all crazy genres, but like just different like feelings and executions of songs.
That's funny you bring that up, because I wrote down, because it does feel very cohesive, and yet then a song like No Signal comes on, and it feels like it sticks out in a way, but it doesn't like distract you because it sounds so different, but it does. Did you record that differently? It sounds like it's like straight to tape.
That was straight to tape. That was kind of like, and back to the sayings, like whatever I was inspired by at that time, and that one specifically, it was like I wanted to, Nick Drake, Pink Moon is maybe my favorite record of all time, and that I was always just wanted to make something that sounded like that and felt like that, and I had gotten this tape machine, this 2-track reel-to-reel that I'm always fighting with. It barely works half the time, but when it does work, it sounds great. And that one was kind of a song that I'd had unfinished. And it was about the time when I was like analyzing, like, okay, around that week when I was talking about that we like recorded a lot of the new other songs that didn't come out in like one night. It was like, all right, what else should go on this thing? Is this going to be a project? Is it going to be an EP? Is it going to be a couple singles? And I got together with our manager Drew Beskin and Elijah, and we got a couple guitars, and we kind of went through a bunch of ideas I had. And Drew had this idea. I had sent him the memos of a couple songs, and had a couple unfinished ideas. And he and Elijah kind of collabed on like, yo, you need to take these two things and put them together. And I was like, what? And like, cause like the meanings were completely different. But once we kind of sat down and like chipped away at these two different ideas, one was called No Signal, and one, I don't remember what it was called, but like the verse and the choruses kind of were stitched together basically from two different songs. And so we kind of worked it out, and then it kind of came this whole new, in terms of songwriting, it was a whole new meaning, which was really cool. But then,
did you have to change lyrics at all? Or
I did change a couple lyrics to make it all fit, and change the order, and wrote some new ones too. And it kind of worked out because I was able to like, I don't know, I was like given this like map of like, this is what you have, like how is it going to make a cohesive thing, and like make you express the way you're feeling about whatever. And so I was able to kind of look at it as from these two different things, from two separate headspaces, and be like, oh, this is like now what this song's about. And it's just like basically it's a love song to one of my good buddies, Jackson, when we used to live together. And that's I don't know, it's like a special like good, it's like a good friend song, like kind of that thing. And I basically we put it together, and I went home, and Drew was like, nope, you need to go tomorrow. You need to wake up first thing in the morning, really earlier than you do. And you got to walk right into the studio. Don't even brush your teeth, and you got to, turn on your tape machine and do the song, because that's how you're gonna get the feeling. And I was like, all right. And I hadn't even played this song full way through myself, and so that No Signal was like the first take of me like trying to like figure out how to play it. It was just happened, and the tape machine worked, and nothing dropped out, and nothing like broke, which usually it does. And I tried to record it like 4 or 5 more times, and I could never get the magic of the first one. So yeah, that's a straight to tape thing, and I kind of wanted
one take.
Yep.
Wow.
It just like vocal and guitar into the 2-track, and I kind of wanted it to be like my little Nick Drake ode, like just a little. I feel like the record is very big and spacious and has dense and has a lot of like atmospheric stuff in the world, but then like this kind of like puts you right into like my room. It's like that like closeness. I wanted to be like a little part of the record, just to kind of cover all the bases, I guess.
Yeah, it is a journey of an album. Do you have one that feels particularly close to you, like you're really proud of it?
Man, I guess, all of them I am in different ways, because it's, I think, be working on them as a producer too, it's like I've got so many different, like, what's your favorite? People ask me, like, which one do you like the recording the best, and which one like songwriting? And I think that Inquirer is probably the one that when I wrote that song, I was actually sitting at the piano with my sister. That song, I was like, okay, this whole thing makes sense now. And I was able, it's got lyrics from Hammerhead Corvette in there, and like, Oh Cherise from the first record. It's got like a bunch of like random, Easter eggs in it and stuff. Yeah. But it was like a nice like writing thing that feels like the end of like writing the last chapter of a book before the book's even written, kind of thing. Which I've never done that before. And I was like, okay, this feels good. And I would say that one, or maybe I think Settling was the first song that came out in one night after I had not written a song in a long time. After releasing that record, it was COVID. I just like wasn't, I don't know, I just wasn't even, I was kind of like happily not forcing myself to write anything, which I'm bad at doing that anyway. I need to do that more, but Settling just came out, and I've been trying to write that song for, I feel like the last 6 months with those like the themes of that song, and it came out exactly how I wanted it to, and that kind of sparked the record. That like, okay, I want to like make more songs. Yeah,
so the start of a new era.
Exactly,
kind of.
Right. Yeah. So that song, and once I finished it, I basically mixed it and put it out. So like, it was definitely a standalone thing for a long time, but to me, it's like
you always knew it was going to be part of.
Yeah, it definitely started. It kicked me into gear to start writing songs and expressing the themes of that song like introduced and like got out of me. And so I love that song. Yeah,
it's a great one. Had you tried to write a song with those themes before and it just didn't feel quite right, or was it?
Okay, yeah, I basically had a bunch of. That song was so weird. That's kind of how I write. It's like, a bunch of verses. Walk around, write down a bunch of like things that I think about, and like choruses are hard for me. Those come like last usually, and so that song was a bunch of verses. Like probably, I think there's like maybe 5 different stanzas in that song. I had like 10, and I was like, I have no idea how to put these together. And I tried a bunch of different versions, and one night I just like I had to sit down and like press record. I think to make myself like compartmentalize everything and think through it a bit more, and so I had been like trying to like voice memo write that song for a bunch of times, because I was like, I've got this thing that it's like on my heart, and like I'm trying to express, but I don't know how to do it right, and I was also like, man, I didn't like anything I was doing, but I was like, I do like these lyrics, I guess, and so yeah,
it is amazing how many drafts of cringe you can go through for one song to finally get to something that feels good.
That's why I like the ones that just come out in a couple hours. I'm like, I can't even let myself think about them. That's why I have to try to finish them so fast.
Yeah, I wrote something the other day that felt like the first time in forever. It was like, this is happening so fast. Don't question it.
Exactly.
Just write it, and like you can come back to it later, but usually there is a magic the the first things that pop into your head.
Especially when you just like let yourself be there. When you're just like, I'm here, and even if this thing is good or bad, I'm like, I'm gonna let it go.
Yeah.
And see where it goes, and I'm trying to finish it, and then I can be like, that was terrible. Or that was something. Let's sit on it. Or maybe it's just like, I don't know what it is, but I like it. And I feel like that's kind of how I felt for a lot of the things. It was like, I don't know what this is, but it scares me and I like it.
I feel like when I'm writing something that now I feel like it's, I don't know, there's a moment when you're starting to write something that you realize that there's something there. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if you feel this way. I feel like I have to finish it quick as possible, otherwise that muse or whatever is gone if I don't do it right now.
Yeah.
And trying to come back to it later and like recreate that
never feels
space.
Same.
Yeah, it feels fake.
Yeah, I'm the same exact way, and I get more bogged down on myself than like
totally.
And being also like such friends with such good songwriters who write every day, like without question, and they're always amazing songs. And it's like, I'm always like, dang, like, yeah. It's like, I'm very easy to be like, yep, nope, you don't got it today. Just sit down, just go for a walk, But also, it's been hard to really give myself that time, that's what I'm trying to do more, is but after recording all day, it is hard to, sometimes hard to like be like, all right, I just like mixed a song or recorded drums for all day.
Yeah.
Like I want to go play music.
Yeah.
No, I want to go outside or, do anything and just chill. So,
Yeah.
but finding that balance is, that's the magic will come out when it needs to come out, I guess. But
yeah. Well, let's talk about We Bought a Zoo Records.
Yeah, baby.
That's what we're kind of getting into here.
Yeah, man.
So you record and produce, engineer a lot of people out of our house here.
Oh, yeah.
And I mean, every day you have somebody in here. How did you start this? What made you want to call this, somewhat of a label?
Yeah.
Like you could have just every once in a while produce somebody, but it's kind of become a machine at this point.
Yeah, no, I'm kind of wondering the same thing as we get further down the road, because it's just like I said, kind of happened during COVID, where I was like, hey, before COVID, I started recording Hotel Fiction. They were like the first band I ever was like, hey, I don't know what it is, but I want to record y'all. I'm trying to get into this. You guys are amazing. I'll do it. Let's just figure it out, And so that's how we recorded their first couple songs. And once those were going pretty well, Elijah, being in Well Kept and his own project, and I was in his band for his project, and he was like, hey, man, I don't know how it started, but he had just finished recording an EP, and I knew he had a record of new songs, and I was like, dude, if you can pay me as much as it costs to get an audio interface, so like we can record enough mics to do drums, like let's make a record, like let's do it all summer, and I just want to learn this, and I want to do it for cheap for you, and I want to like just be that much of a part of making these songs. I believed in him so much, and so he was gracious enough to believe in me to do that, and we made an awesome record, Strangers, and I'm super proud of it. And it's kind of the same thing, super raw, super straightforward, and it's which I love. But so we did like Elijah and then Well Kept's record in the meantime, like that summer of 2019, and Hotel Fiction was kind of sprinkled in before and after that. And so I had done these things. I was like, oh, I like producing. I think I'm getting better at it. Definitely like wasn't confident enough to be like, hey, you need to record with me, or pitch myself much.
But now you do.
I was like, well, I'm in these bands. I think I can add a lot because I care. I'll care the most, But then COVID hit, and I was like, well, I've got all these things. Like I can do this. I started working remotely and like tracking bass for people, and just like doing mixes and mastering and stuff, and just kind of wanting to do it and get better at it and learn. And so I took that time and that quarantine time to just like get better and try things and record myself and do mixed projects and stuff. But so yeah, once like that summer of 2020 when everyone was kind of hanging out again, I had like, Jacob Mallow's record to do, Zach Crook's record to do, Hotel Fiction stuff to finish, Aspen Ananda's stuff, Sarah Mootz's album, like a lot of
Which
things.
Which is awesome, just came out.
No, right, yes. Oh, so this was actually, I guess, before this record.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, this was like, I guess it was an EP, but or singles or something, but like
right.
A lot of Sarah Moots songs. It was kind of that. It was like, because it was COVID times. I think it was the perfect timing of like, hey, do you want to record? They're like, sure. I've been writing these 10 songs and I've got nothing to do. So like I was able to like book 2 weeks at a time with people, where it's like now, even with, back to normal life, it's like everyone's got jobs, everyone's got things. It's hard to like the days of like, hey, let's book a month in a cabin and make a record.
Right.
Unless if you're not being funded by a real bigwig record label, those days might be gone, because people just have to. If you're a working musician, you gotta make a living doing something else, So, but that was a special time because everyone was chilling and no one could be doing anything, so everyone was able to dive in, and I would just like took that summer to be like, all right, this is like what I want to do, and I guess backtrack to answer the WBAZ question. Elijah and I had Strangers, that record, in our hands, and we're like, and I think it was Elijah who's like, dude, like we should like, we should like throw like a funny band name or funny record label name on these releases, because we had been talking, like I was like, oh, like how can I like put a stamp on it, because a couple of engineers in town did that, and like a lot of people do that, and like we're big fans of like Elephant Six, like the Athens, like Neutral Milk Hotel and Beyond, like collective kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so that was kind of like the first, and kind of still is the thinking now, where it's like, all right, let's just put this like brand on something, And so people know, like, oh, maybe like it was made with Tommy and the friends of We Bought a Zoo kind of thing. But then also, if we have enough artists under We Bought a Zoo and someone gets, very successful and they see that tag underneath the DistroKid release or the Spotify release, they can be like, oh man, search it up. Oh, look, I found 20 other artists that I also like, and they're also from town. And like, that was the goal. If one of us wins, we all win kind of thing. So
yeah, like a sub pop, like how many people just check out bands by Matador or
right.
Sub Pop
And I did that same thing, and that's how I found most inspiring bands to my like music career ever were like, I found like Lame-O Records and like Modern Baseball and all the Philly emo scene. Like I found Modern Baseball, and then from there I found like 100 bands that I loved, whether from Run for Cover Records or Lame-O Records. And it's like just the title got me like, okay, here's this like club, I can check out their roster. And so that was kind of the thinking. And Elijah and I were of course like, oh, let's make like a funny name, like, because like who cares? Because we can do whatever we want. And We Bought a Zoo Records was one of my like, I've got a list of like fake band names, fake label names and stuff. And We Bought a Zoo Records was one of them. And we're like, that kind of like has a ring to it. I don't know. Let's do it. And we're like, yeah, you can't copyright movie titles, so like that'll work. But not that we were ever worried about that at all. But yeah, it was kind of started, and I think still is, to be like this. I never wanted it to be like really like Tommy touched this, Tommy produced this kind of thing. I want it to always be like, this is our, like a brand or a collective of our friends in town who are making really awesome music. And I would love for, I have seen it happen, and it's been the best thing. It keeps me wanting to do it more and promote it more, that I've got people reach out to me. They go, hey man, like what's going on in Athens here? I found this We Bought a Zoo Records thing. Like a lot of people will talk to me about it because Well Kept is on it, because Elijah's on it, and Hotel Fiction. And like, a lot of people will like ask me, yo, like, so like, what is this thing? It's just so many cool artists. I'm like, oh, actually it's like all the bands I produce out of my studio. And they're like, what? A lot of people don't know that, which I guess is like a goal. I don't know. I guess that's like bigger. That's the bigger
like
picture.
If you
for
know,
me.
you know.
Right. And I just want people to be able to like look and find this thing and be like, whoa, there's like 50. Now, I don't even know how many artists now. Maybe like 30 to 50 artists and releases under We Bought a Zoo Records that like, and they find the whole catalog and find like what's going on in Athens and like this cool indie rock, indie pop kind of thing. And there's so many different genres, and yeah, thankful to have been a part of the project in some way for all of them. And yeah, that's kind of how it started, and kind of has grown to be more still the same thing. Like, I'm not giving anybody record advances or anything, and I'm not, but we have been putting on shows. We've been putting out splits. I'm trying to do that more and work on getting some more like, split releases, split singles, because that's like what all the Philly emo record labels would do.
What do you mean by split?
It's like, all right, you and I do a split, a We Bought a Zoo Records split.
Oh.
I put out a single, you put out a single, and it's under one front and back
release. Like a single A, single B,
exactly.
But it's two different artists.
And so
that's cool.
So yeah, like Lame-O Records would put out a split with Modern Baseball, Thin Lips, and like 3 different artists.
Okay.
And it's just like songs they wouldn't put on an album. There's like random one-offs.
I gotcha.
And so like we did one with Cannon and Michael Dill. That was our first one that we put out a couple months ago, and it was super fun. And I want to do that more, just like, I've got this idea of like, I want to get all the artists that have released under We Bought a Zoo Records to like cover each other, just pick one song of somebody else and cover each other and put it out. So that's like one thing I want to do. Of course, it's a big operation to organize when I'm the only one like putting it into play.
Yeah.
So, but we put on WBAZ Fest last year in the fall, and that was awesome. We had 10 artists play at the Lewis Room at Tweed. It was super fun, and yeah, I kind of just want to do cool things like that, like other collectives have done before us. And yeah, it's kind of nothing more than just like a title of and like a place to find what all of our friends are making, and all that art that's coming out of Athens from this age group of folks. And it's been very fun to see it grow in a way where it's like people recognize it and respect it. It's not just like, what's this weird thing? It's like, oh, whoa, this is like, is people, people asking like, what is this? Like, how do I get in? And I get a lot of business from, clients reaching out and being like, hey man, I want to be a part of this. And I'm
I
like,
felt the same, so I moved in.
Oh yeah, baby, come on. Yeah. And it's like, that's the thing. There's no part. It's just like, yeah, come hang and record, and then you're a part. And that's what I think is fun, because it's just ever growing, and it's not just Athens, it's beyond, in Atlanta, Nashville and stuff. And so,
yeah. I mean, the way I found out about any of this at all was through the man, Drew Beskin.
yeah, baby.
We got coffee, and I was telling him that I was trying to just get to know everybody in this scene from, I'd come from Atlanta to record with Patrick, and he's like, well, if you want to meet the guy behind the curtain, you got to meet Tommy Trautwein. He's like, the sun revolves around Tommy here.
That's not true.
But it is, I mean, to a degree, it's having now lived in this house every day, somebody new is coming in to record, which has been super cool. And it does seem like there has been a lot done for this music community through the people that, you've met and have worked with. And it just is cool to see that it is like, not only everybody is super nice and cool, but it's like everyone's very talented. And it seems like you have like this ethos of like all, like, what is it? A rising tide raises all ships, or whatever that phrase is.
Exactly. Yeah. Whatever that is. That is kind of that's very well said, what I want WBAZ Records to be. And that has been a crazy, to even realize and look at my calendar. It's like from every day since May, I have been like, I think every single day minus a couple, I have been recording and tracking bands. And it's like, it's insane and it's exhausting, but it's like, feel like the luckiest man on earth to be able to do this full time. And this year has been a blessing. This year has been my first year of like being only producing and working as an engineer and producer, and then playing bands, of course. But like doing that every day with new faces or the same faces is like, I'm so lucky. And it's been so crazy to think about and look back on, to see how much like stuff has been made. And also, like there hasn't been a single song that I don't think is cool that I've worked on. And I think that is like a insanely special thing that I think Athens and our friend group kind of cultivates, because everyone is just so willing to do their own thing. And there's no like rubric or structure that anyone's following. And it's so fun for me to just stretch myself in terms of like producing and understanding of all these different music styles. But it's like nice to be like, everyone I work with is also like a producer themselves, because I try to give them the reins as much as possible to like make the decisions and like paint the picture they're trying to paint, and like cultivate the vibe they're trying to identify as. And so it's been a crazy year working every single day. Sorry about all the noise, Zach, Carmen, and Parker. They're my gracious roommates. But yeah, no, I think I've always wanted to just like, I feel like ever since I got to town, and like Andrew Blooms and Matt Martin were doing the same kind of thing, where they were just like had a home studio or wherever.
They're right down the road, right?
Matt's studio, Matt is now in Nashville, but Gift Horse, Stanley and Rowan O'Reilly and Stephen Ledbetter's studio is right down the street. Andrew was also right down the street. There's so many, and like, now Patrick, who you record with, is right down. It's like there's so many cool different pockets of like that kind of like little recording scenes, and I feel like we all work together very well. And that's when I first came to town, and I was just like a musician trying to like hang out in studios. I would just like Andrew Blooms, Andrew Huang would let me just sit in the back of his room and help out and engineer and play, and for every single day when he was working. And I also was like, I was always that kind of guy who was like, yo, Zach, you're recording, I'm gonna play guitar, like get me in,
tag me in, coach.
Because like I don't care if you use the stuff I do or you want me there, I'm gonna care about it. And like I feel like that's
what you want,
right? And I feel like that's how you got to be as a musician. If you're like, I want to be a part of everything I can, because that's how you like. I don't know. It's like fun that you can like live forever through. Oh, I play like this little riff on this thing, and like now I like really care about this one song that's not even mine. It's like it's fun to. I love letting people in on my process and like the well kept process and stuff. So it's like I think I was always trying to be that person for somebody, because it's so hard to be like, I've got this song I think is cool. I'm going to pay someone a lot of money to like hopefully get it right. And all it takes is like one or two people to be like, we're here for you and we're excited about it too, and we're gonna make it cool.
Totally.
Like, you don't have to. The weight's not all on you, because And so I've always just tried to be that person, and just being a player or being a friend and a partner in a music context. And so getting to see how like Andrew and Matt kind of ran their studios, and I also interned at like Chase Park with Drew Vandenberg, and seeing how those three different worlds of engineer producers worked, I was able to be like, all right, this is what I like, this is what I don't like, this is what I think I can add myself, and found myself just doing it before I even realized it. And so now it's the full-time thing, and I'm just so darn happy to be in this town and wouldn't want to be anywhere else. And this, if I could make music with this crew for the rest of my life, that would be the best thing ever. Totally. Everyone in town here is so talented and so inspiring to me, because they're so like unique, and everyone's doing their own thing, and just like down to record in a house too. It's like nobody has that's what I'm always worried about. I'm like, hey, like the train comes by every hour, there's all these different variables in recording in a house, but like, it's like, trust me, I think it'll be cool. And everyone's like, dude, no, we want this. Like, this is the
literally
vibe.
It feels homey.
Yeah, it feels homey. Yeah. And so, there's so many of my favorite records these days are these pop records are being made just like that. And so it's like, it's fun to really chase the song and the vibe you get to create, knowing that you're not in a $1 million studio. And,
right. You don't have to worry about paying for time.
Exactly. The paying the day rate and stuff, which, I think there's a lot of great things. And I work out of Tweed Recording downtown. And I think there's a lot of awesome, necessary uses of those spaces. And it's like, and I try to get in there whenever the opportunities fits. It's like, all right, we have a full band. We need to be in the same room, in a room that's going to be able to support that. Our living room does that great too, but there's just a lot of more variables that are harder to dance around. But
there is a uniqueness to recording in a space that is literally yours.
Yeah.
Like, exactly, whether you are conscious of it or not, the acoustics
exactly right.
that you're in.
Exactly. No, yeah, that's the case where it's like, I'll pitch, be like, hey, we can go to either Tweed down the street or these other studios in town if you want. And people are like, no, let's just do it in your house.
Nice.
We want to be there. We don't want to, and
it's cozy.
It's cozy, right? And so I'm very thankful that it's like all these things that like people are okay with, and it just continue to work. I'm like, okay, like, you sure? Like, all right, sure, cool. And like, I'm just very thankful to have such a community that just like wants to just get in there and make things. It's like, it's not about, they want to be comfortable and they want to make art and have fun doing it. And so that's like what I learned from watching other producers, is like being a good hang. That's all that matters. Yeah. That's all people want.
Good vibes are so important.
Being a good hang and just caring about it. Just because it's so easy to like press record and be like, cool, thanks,
right,
pay me.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I don't know. Maybe I try to care too much, and that causes me to work longer and eat less and and exercise less. But it's proven.
This shows you love it.
Yeah, it's like there's nothing else I'd rather be doing in the world, and with this crew, it's like so cool. And so it's nice to be able to like somewhat throw like a little bit of a umbrella over this whole thing,
right?
And be like, yo, this is like, here's the sign for all of our friends in a way that I always wanted it to be, in a way where it's like, right, the rising tide raises all ships. Mm-hmm. Well said. Here on That Boat podcast.
On That Boat.
That's my bit.
That's gonna be a nice little
on That Boat podcast.
We should change it and not even mention why. Yeah. Like, we'll never acknowledge it.
Yeah,
welcome to On That Boat. Today we're on a schooner out here.
My God. That's the new thing, is we like, in a dream world, when we've got our funding, a different boat every time. Yeah. And you're just rocking on a boat. We're here on That Boat podcast. We're talking music. That would be brilliant.
Maybe one day we'll have 2 jet skis. We'll just kind of tie them together.
Right. Zach's dad's got a jet ski.
Okay. Shout out to Zach. Maybe we can get...
Shout out to Zach. He just put out a new song today called Better Taste.
Interviewed him yesterday for it. He's awesome. You guys work so well together, and I heard Hampton is you three are the holy trinity.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Hampton P, that's who we should be interviewing right now. Hampton is, I think, another backbone of, We Bought a Zoo Records recording and spirit, just because of how talented he is. He's now in Chattanooga, but he's always down here making the effort.
Yeah, that's a drive.
But he records drums for all Well Kept and all the keys parts, and he sometimes plays bass for us live, and he's our utility guy, and he's such a talented producer mind and songwriter of his own. He's been working with his own band called Walter Slide up in Chattanooga. Well Kept's played with them a couple times. They're so amazing. They're coming to town playing with Elijah sometime in November. I don't want to say a date because I don't know exactly when it is. I don't want to get it wrong. But we're playing at the 40 Watt with Elijah and Walter Slide. It's going to be amazing.
Hell yeah.
But yeah, Hampton has been working with Zach and I as like that was like our 3-piece, and he's just such a wizard on the keys and drums, and he's taught me so much about drum performance and even recording. Just like, you know, because we've just experimented so much, and every time we get in the room together, it feels like we get better drum sounds. And like he is one of the few people that I like feel like, I don't know, pushes me to do that, because when, you know, people are trusting me to record their songs, I'm like, all right, I'm going to do what I know works great and I love, you know, the sound of, and also adjust for like the style of music. But then Hampton's like, oh, but what if we do this? He goes, I don't know how to get it, but how could we do this? And I'd be like, okay, I guess we could throw this mic somewhere, or you know, and like, and then we
see
always,
what happens.
And he even says, he's like, man, every time we're together, we get better and better drum sounds. And so that's like, it's exciting to have someone like that who's willing, and Zach too. I mean, at the end of the day, especially for Zach songs, that's where Hampton and I are usually collaborating the most. Recently, Zach's gracious enough to let us like do the thing. And it's worked so far. So yeah, but yeah, it's good to have. I'm just trying to surround myself with people who want to do that. And like, I feel like even playing in Hefner recently, it's like they are some of the most, like, I look up to those guys as musicians, songwriters, more than anyone, because they are like, they care about it so much. Every little detail, to like the parts, to like the tone of your reverb trail at the end of this note. You know, it's like they down to the minute, even live and recording. You know, the things where like live, oh yeah, it'll come out in the wash, it'll be just a good rock show. It's like, no, it's like we are in there. Every second has to be perfectly dialed, because it matters, and and it's fun. You know, we're a bunch of music nerds who like really care about it, and all of our heroes, like the Strokes and beyond, care about it. You know, and so it's been. I'm just trying to surround myself with people who are like that, and just want to push each other for the sake of, we love it, and like getting a cool sound in the studio or a good performance live is like the most catharsis and like best feeling like ever.
Totally.
You know, so that's that, and I feel like Athens just has that here, and then it has the polar opposite for people who are just like, we just want to like make music and like give you the reins, or like give their bandmates the reins. It's like, and there's amazing, I don't know, synergy between all that, where it's like everyone is just willing to dive into the project, and you take your role, whichever that is, and just collaborate. And I think it's just so exciting. I don't quite even know how to like quantify it or explain it, but it's fun. It's like, even doing this is like saying it in words is making me like excited about it too. Just
here, talking about it. Yeah.
And I'm excited to get you in the studio one of these days.
It's coming,
baby.
man. It's coming.
Yeah.
Don't worry.
Parker just put out an EP that has been one of my favorite sounding things ever.
That's
literally ever.
That's awesome coming from you. Dude, like, when you said that to me, I was like, don't freak out.
You showed me Better Than You Blues, and I was jaw dropped.
That's
it's like
sick,
a perfect tapey 60s, like the rawness, but the polishedness of like a beautiful 60s recording. And like, I don't even know if that's what you're going for, but like that thing is just like, it's got such a vibe, and I've just been so sick to see you play with the gang, dip into the Athens pond, pull out all these amazing musicians, like we do in town, where everyone plays with everyone's band. Isn't that amazing that like Tony and Aiden and Harrison and all the people who've played with your band can play your songs amazing, and then they also play their own songs amazing, and then they play Tony's songs amazing. It's like that's what's so crazy to me. It's like, and I've felt that way, because I'm like, I've played in a bunch of bands too, and bunch of different genres and been like, okay, when is it going to be like, when am I going to drop the ball and be like, I can't do this? You know?
Right.
And it's like, I guess you just got to step up to the plate. And it's so cool to see that, like, even Well Kept is like also, Well Kept for a while was the same band as Elijah Johnston. And we played like such different songs. And Elijah and I would just switch bass and guitar. But us having to like be different bands really pushed us to be like, all right, how do we like put on the costume or like put on the cape of this band and be like, all right, we're going to be this identity. And then vice versa. It really pushes you to be like, to kind of like figure out what the project's identity is and then like execute it. And I think just like playing all the Athens musicians playing in all these different bands, it's amazing how like each project can be highlighted for what it is. It doesn't just sound like the same guys playing over and over again.
Yeah, I've been very lucky that, I mean, the only 2 shows I've played, I only had Harrison who was able to do both. And I was like, great, now I have to find 3 new people to teach these songs within a month. And thankfully, Tony, Aiden, and Miller stepped up and they all killed it. And then, you know, next show, I had to find another guy on sax.
Oh, no.
And Olin, sorry, I haven't met him, so I'm not sure if it's Olin or Olin.
Oh, cool.
But he's stepped up. Awesome. So far, I'm waiting for the ball to drop, and it hasn't dropped yet, which has been a testament to how cool everybody here in Athens is, that they're down to just play.
And like, I think that's just the being able to, it's like all comes down to chemistry, I guess. And, you know, being good players, of course, but then also like being able to adapt and do whatever is needed for the project. And
absolutely.
Your band has been doing just that. It's been awesome to see.
Well, thank you, man.
Dude.
What would you say is the biggest lesson you've learned, either in terms of producing, maybe we can do one of each, producing, songwriting, and as like a label, quote unquote?
It's a good question. I feel like there's so many, and always trying to, you know, being a sponge is like, maybe that is it, you know, maybe it's like learning to be like, I don't know, with the fact that the more you know, the like more you realize you've got so much more to go, you know, like I feel like the more every new trick in recording or like thing you unlock and you're like, oh, I get this now. And you're like, oh my gosh, I'm so bad. You know, I don't know if that's other people, but like that is a lot of my mentality. And I feel like that's like, as a musician or producer, that's like waking up with dealing with the highs and lows where you're like, oh man, we just made the best song ever. This is amazing. Versus like, I'm a bad person. Because that was a quote from
I'm lying to everyone.
That was a quote from Jason Kingsland. He said that at Tweed one day teaching a class. He's like, dealing with being a producer is like dealing with the highs and lows of like, I'm the best. This thing we made is the coolest thing ever. And then also, this snare drum sounds so bad. I'm a bad person because of it. You know, like that's the highs and lows. I love that quote. I think just like being a sponge and like just showing up every day and being there 100% and like just being ready to like dive in and just finish the drill and like that kind of stuff, being like able to, I don't know, really just commit to the project and the vibe. And that comes songwriting, that comes with producing, just being able to be open to whatever is going to happen. And it's terrifying because you can be like, all right, this is what I know. This is how I'm going to do it. And we're going to do it this way because this is how the rules say it. And being able to be like, just be a sponge of like the environment and the attitude in the room and the influences that someone's bringing in or that you're bringing in, and just being able to like, I don't know, take in and always be learning kind of thing. I feel like that is what I've tried to do with recording, just being around so many friends that are so talented and like so much more advanced or professional or just have been doing it for a lot longer than I have. It's like, it's easy for me to be like, oh yeah, I'm never going to be that good. So it's like, but I'm just thankful to be, people are trusting me with their songs and I get to just create. And so I'm just going to like try to, with everything I do, make it better than the last thing and learn as I go and be a sponge of the room and just kind of like, and be a good person. You know, I think that's kind of like, of the millions of lessons that I've learned and tried to internalize, I feel like just being a good hang and being just showing up and being present for the people around you, for yourself, for the project. And I think that's probably, it's hard to do, and sometimes I don't. But I've tried, working every single day on different projects is insane to juggle. Yeah. If I could have it my way, I would work like a month, finish the project, next month, new project, finish it, but that's just not how the modern world goes. And, thankfully I'm trying to offer affordable recording and right, there's no studio rate or anything in my house at least. And so it's nice to just, be able to work on so many things so in like piecemeal fashion, to be flexible for clients to come in, but also like, yeah, it's hard to show up every day, but like, I think once you're able to just lock in and, I don't know, really commit and do it for the client or for your friends or for your own project, it's nice to just, once I recognized that, it was like, all right, man, I'm so lucky to be alive, to be young, to be healthy, and surrounded by so many amazing people who are kind to me and care about me. I think, but I know they care about me. But just to be like, all right, I'm gonna give it all back and like give my 100% all, because that's gonna make something that is timeless between us.
It comes out in the record. You can hear the love and the care that goes into it.
Yeah, it's a crazy process, but I think that's probably a lesson that I've learned and I'm trying to learn.
Yeah.
Going forward. So yeah, it's a good question.
That's a great answer.
Yeah. Thanks.
The one audience question we got was we got one from our man Zach Crook. He says guitar amp or DI.
Oh man, well,
we all know you're a DI guy.
Zach has been on about DI guitar. He's been like, dude, you know what's really sick these days? DI guitar. And the reason he's been on about it is because his bedroom is like right outside of the living room, where the living room kind of acts as like the tracking room, where we'll run, everything out from my room, the control room, and put the amps in the tracking room, the living room, and blare the amps every once in a while. And I try to give a forewarning whenever it's going to be super loud, but also it's just the name of the game, living in a studio house, I guess. But his room is... He's
like, I don't know, man. I think DI is coming back.
Yeah, he's always
sounds
like,
really good
He's always like, I don't know, dude. Yeah, DI is pretty sick, man. And I'm like, I'm sorry, we won't be that loud for that much longer. I'm sorry. But I think to answer that question, I don't know. I think I love both of them so much. I've just acquired a couple very, very fun amps that I love for a lot of different reasons.
What's that small, thin?
I just got that Univox.
That one's so
from Classic City Vintage Guitars. Shout out Dylan and the shop, because he has fixed every one of my guitars now, which has been amazing, and he's the best in town, I think. But he called me up. He goes, "Yo, dude, I've got this amp. I know you're eyeing one," because my little brother bought one from the shop a while ago, and I was like, dang it, I want this amp. And he goes, "Oh, dude, I think I might have another one." And then he found one that had a broken speaker, so I got that for pretty cheap, got a new speaker in it, and now it rocks. But yeah,
it does sound really good.
I've got that.
It's so small.
Yeah, it's so small, solid state. It's not going to break on me.
Yeah.
Come on. Yeah, that's a good question, Zach, but unfortunately, I think the answer is amps, baby. It's not
loud as hell, and right next to your door,
and
dude.
right inside of your room next time.
Yeah, I'm lucky I'm a little bit further.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
I got a couple extra walls.
You're the other wing of the house, but then your wall is right next to the
I'm in the east wing.
The east wing, yes, of WBAZ Records here.
I can hear, although the trade-off is I can hear the bass pretty well coming from your room because of the speakers. But I'd say it's a good trade-off.
Yeah, man.
All right, that's gonna take us over the last 5. I'm just gonna ask you 5 quick questions and we'll be out. Number 1 is in the studio or playing live.
I think it's gonna be in the studio, dude.
I think it has to be.
I think this year has been that's the question that's been. It's like, oh, are you trying to do Well Kept full time or like produce? And I was like, and I love Well Kept so much, and I think the reason I love it is that I don't do it every single day.
Right.
And
it's like the release from being pent up in the studio.
And I'm so grateful that people listen to our songs and come out and see us live. And like that's like, even releasing this new record, reception we've got, it's like, man, we went on that tour and it was amazing and it was successful and we've been playing a bunch of awesome shows, and it's like it's kind of rearing its head to be like, all right, I'm definitely been putting more effort into it, and we've got vinyl coming soon, and so we're definitely gonna be busier than we've ever been, I think, coming up, which is really exciting, and we're, as a band, we've just gotten so much better and like so fun. So I'm excited about that, but I think that in the studio is really where I think I feel like I'm supposed to be there, and
feels like home.
Whether I know what I'm doing, I absolutely don't. At least I feel like I'm having the most fun and excited to use all these little expensive gadgets that I spend my life savings on. But then I get to use them.
Do you have a lot of gadgets?
I do have a lot of gadgets, and it's so exciting to get new things and see them work and make other people's, day and their songs better. And so I don't know. I think in the studio.
In the studio. No, I have to agree. It's super fun.
They both complement each other.
They do. That's why I like asking it. It's the yin and yang.
Yin and yang, exactly. Yes.
Question number 2. What is a perfect album front to back?
Wow. Man, I might just take it back to Nick Drake, Pink Moon.
Nice.
That I've never the only way I listen to that record usually is on vinyl and front to back, and I use that. I've always used that record from I think it was high school when I first got it, as my I'm going to sit and listen to this record kind of thing. That's what I want to do right now. I'll with records and play music, I'll throw it on and do 10 other things.
Right.
But that one is where it's always been that for me, and my just in songwriting and guitar playing, the most inspiring thing. And so I would say maybe that's my answer as of right now. I've got maybe a couple other contenders, but I don't even...
Give them the shout out. It's okay. It doesn't have to be just one.
Oh, gosh, dude. I don't know. You know what? I think I'm going to stay strong with...
Just leave it on the one.
I'm leaving it on the one because I can't... Now that the more I think about it, the more... It's like there's a lot of perfect record. It's so hard to say, but Home Like No Place Is There by the Hotelier.
By the Hotelier?
The Hotelier. Huh. They're an emo band. I don't actually know where they're from, but there's record that came out, I think in the 2000s, but that these records just changed my life. That full way through, inspired the first Well Kept record a lot. Just a band playing the songs, rocking,
Yeah.
And the songwriting's amazing. That, and then American Football's self-titled record.
Oh,
the
yeah.
First one.
Yeah. I have that one on vinyl, actually.
Yeah. Those three probably, now that I'm thinking about it, the way I am.
Kind of defines Well Kept, maybe.
Yeah. That, and then maybe, I don't know. Yeah, we'll stop there. It's it's so hard to say what's perfect, but those are defines at least Well Kept or my songwriting or playing or what I want to... the emotions I want to evoke from recordings and songs. Those three records are it.
Yeah, I haven't listened to the Hotelier album.
It's awesome.
So I'll check that one out.
It's high octane, just overdriven, clean guitars.
Yeah,
ripping.
Cool.
It's great, but really, really cool.
What's the name of that album?
Home Like No Place Is There.
Home Like No Place Is There. It's kind of hard to say.
It's strange, but it's awesome.
Nice. Question 3 is, it's a little different because you really produce a shit ton of people, but who would be your dream artist or producer to work with?
Oh, I think my favorite producer recently, and someone that I've just everything they put out is top notch in my eyes, and what I there's so many different I don't even know if they're considered styles of producing, but Andrew Sarlo, who produces a lot of Big Thief stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Howdy's last record, a lot of Howdy stuff, some of the Dijon stuff.
Okay.
He is probably my favorite producer, and working with him in some capacity as a tag team or as an artist, he would probably be my dream collab, I think, just because everything he does has been so inspiring to me, and being able to listen and watch as he does what he does. And he's very like on the internet, very like, hey, here's what I did to get this cool thing. And he's very like, I don't know why I did that, but it sounds cool, you know. And
what's his name?
Andrew Sarlo.
Andrew Sarlo. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. He like I remember like, I feel like a turning point in, Hampton and I were just talking about this the other day. The turning point in like my like producing career was like a long time ago. He put out a video of him going through a Pro Tools session of like Big Thief's UFOF, one of my favorite. I mean, this sweatshirt is like a UFOF sweatshirt with the lyrics on the back. And then Howdy's song Runner. And like he just went through and him talking through a session. And I was like, I use all of those same plugins. I use, you know, of course, you know, he recorded in a studio in the woods or something. Right. But like, it was funny to see him like, yeah, he's like, oh man, I don't know why I did that, but sounds cool. That's like, and it's his vibe. It's just like, get what feels good. And just watching that video was like very cool and inspiring to me to be like, all right, I'm just gonna like go for whatever sounds cool and like just get the there's lack of a better word, the vibe, you know, because it just because if you can capture that and execute that, I think it's gonna be a good recording, you know.
It's funny how you'll think there's some secret sauce to these bigwig producers, and then they're like, I don't know, I just kind of liked how it sounded, so I moved on. And you're like, that's it? Like,
exactly. It's like sometimes it's like disappointing sometimes, but I think it's amazing because I just know so many songs when you're like, maybe you're like, with a drum machine copying and pasting something, and like with one of Zach's songs, we made this awesome beat by accidentally like duplicated, like before we even recorded drums, we were just mapping out a drum sample just to get the vibe, and I like duplicated it wrong, and it was like kind of weirdly in time, out of time, and we're like, this is cool. And then like Hampton played drums, like, you know, and it was like, but like the happy accidents that happened, just like, you know, utilizing those, and I think that's
totally because those are going to be unique because nobody would do that on purpose.
Right. It's like I would love to. I mean, even watching that Beatles Get Back, like, you know, I would love to know like what just went wrong in a session and during the Beatles, and now millions of people are like, they're the most genius person in the world because they chose to do this at this moment. It's like, no, they probably just like messed up.
Yeah,
and like,
they're like, we kind of just messed that up there. Right. Yeah. You're like, all right, Paul.
Yeah, I know. But who knows? Maybe they are geniuses.
They certainly are.
But they're just also just like you and I. You know, that was like that's what the Get Back documentary showed. It's just like,
they're just a bunch of goobers
eating bread and drinking coffee.
Yeah.
Struggling through songs until they have the best songs in the world.
Did you watch the whole thing?
Oh yeah, me and my dad. My dad's the biggest.
I need to watch
fan.
The whole thing. I don't. Maybe it's controversial. I don't think it is. I don't think it need to be 6 hours. 6 hours is a long.
It's time. Fair. I think as like very fair as like a like entertainment like thing. It's like you could have gotten the point a lot quicker. But as like the lack of Beatles content like that, as a Beatles fan, like for my, even like I'm a big Beatles fan, but like my dad getting to watch that, like he had like the bootleg video of Let It Be, which is basically the same kind of footage, but it's like, it's the one that the director of that put together after they did it, but he did it as like, he's like, man, I'm kind of like upset with the Beatles because it all went so poorly, like nothing went to plan, and it was basically a bootleg DVD of like the Beatles breaking up and that how bad the vibes were.
Wow.
But then Get Back was like everything.
Like, hey, it wasn't
and
all
it was
bad.
Like, yeah, of course they were just a band in the rehearsal space struggling through it. It's like not a fun watch, but it's so interesting to see like Paul, you know, you've seen the video of Paul just sitting down and Get Back comes out in 2 seconds.
So cool.
And then they hash it out, and it's like takes a long time, and you know,
it's very
George
realistic.
Quits, you know, right? It's like it's so crazy to see them working as like a normal band under insane circumstances.
Right.
Yeah.
It is cool to see that they were just people.
Right.
You know, they're not like being super witty in an interview or anything.
No,
it's like they're just mates hanging out.
And they're just trying to make songs, you know. And if you like the Beatles, Drew Beskin and the Sunshine's album release is on October 28th.
Yes, sir.
And after the album release, the Sunshine Beatles will be playing a Beatles-only cover set.
I'm so hyped for that.
That I will be a part of, and I'm very excited for that. And we're going to be wearing some fun Beatles costumes that I'm actually really excited to see.
Which era? What Beatles era?
The costumes?
Yeah.
I guess I'll just say it, Shea Stadium costumes. It's like the khaki button up, like they almost look like Sgt. Pepper's uniforms, but they're like the khaki clean ones.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
So I might just wear it around every day.
Do it. Very cool.
Yeah, but that's on October 28th. Well Kept show, our Halloween show is on October 27th, the night before, 40 Watt. That's going to be really fun.
A 1-2 punch.
With Clark Sound and Easy Honey.
Shout out Clark, yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be such a good time. Costumes encouraged, parentheses required.
I'll be Where's Waldo.
Yes, dude.
Come and see if you can find me.
Yeah.
Come and find me. All right, question number 4. What's on your musical rotation right now?
Man, that's a good question. I feel like most of the time I'm listening to my Dropbox of all the mixes I'm trying to, know, which is amazing. And but I would think, Big Thief's double album they just put out this year is still up on my, I'm still going back to that. I love it so much.
For a double album, they really nailed it.
They really nailed it. It's insane.
It'd be very easy to mess up like a few songs, more than a few,
right.
And every song on there is awesome.
And they're a huge testament to just like doing whatever fits the song. They have stories of like the power went out and they recorded off of like, a truck power outlet with 4 mics,
wow.
And they just did one take and it's like, or like a couple takes and they like to take 3 because it was cool.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's so exciting to me where it's like that is a band being a band. Man, who am I listening to? I've been recently diving into Charlie Martin's Imaginary People. He's one of the singers from Howdy. He put out a solo record. It just sounds so good. Been super on about that Dijon record.
Yes.
That's Zach and I's favorite. We talk about it all the time.
Absolutely.
1975, of course. That's probably the answer. I've been really obsessed with the 1975 this year. Just like, man, they're so good. That Part of the Band song is one of my favorite songs.
It's a pretty wild
song.
It's
amazing.
Yeah. We were talking about, you did listen to the tape notes.
I listened to the one before last, but I've listened to a couple of the clips that they posted.
Okay. Yeah. So they go over that song.
Oh, yes.
And it's interesting the versions that they had before it.
Yeah.
One is like very Bruce Springsteen.
Oh, yeah.
That's what it reminded me of.
Yeah, definitely. It seems I feel like that song has maybe the most Jack Antonoff touch, which was really cool to hear too. Like, I love that 1975 record. I feel like it's different. It might not. I don't know if it's like, I wouldn't call it a perfect record in my eyes, but it's so good and it's such a vibe and it's like front to back feels like a thing and I love it. And I listened to it twice on a plane ride home the other day.
Oh,
it was
nice.
Awesome. But yeah, the 1975 Big Thief and like Courtney Barnett have been my like, and probably Howdy too, and Porches new record that came out like last year, I think.
Yeah.
All what's called All Day Gentle Hold. That record is amazing.
It is.
Yeah.
I need to go back to it. There was like a week where I listened to it a lot, and that was it really. But I love Porches. There's always they're like Tennis to me. You know Tennis?
Never listened to them, but
they're sick. I'll show you a couple songs.
Yeah.
But to me, they both have the same thing where every album they put out, there's at least 2 or 3 songs that like define my year.
Yeah.
Even though I might not listen to the whole album that much, but like 2 or 3 songs I can't stop listening to.
The Hefner boys are just so obsessed with Porches.
Yeah.
And like our nerding out for Porches is a shared bond between all of us because
he's unique.
And we all saw him. We went and saw him live at Terminal West, and it was one of the better shows I've ever seen. They didn't have a bass player; they just did tracks, drums, and 2 guitars, and it was so good.
Wow.
And
damn, dude. But I remember when he came, and I was like, I should go, and I didn't get tickets. I forgot why.
Yeah.
But I should have.
Yeah.
All right, last question here.
All right.
What is your favorite decade of music? And alternatively, what's the worst decade of music?
Wow. Well, I don't know if I'm like even informed enough to answer like what the worst is.
You don't have to be. You can just shit talk an entire decade, dude.
Which is so, but like I don't even like. I don't know because like I feel like you could say, and this is not my answer, but you could say like now a lot of the music I don't love, or like a lot of the pop stuff I don't love, but then Big Thief 1975
Yeah.
and Howdy are putting out the same records in the same decade.
Right.
So it's like, that's where that is always.
That's why I like asking that question, because it's not like there's no really easy way to answer it.
I think maybe my favorite decade of music is, I guess, like, I don't know what the correct answer is, but like the 2010 to 2010s, I guess, that emo alternative spike in music, or like that, like the Modern Baseball, Slaughter Beach Dog, like Manchester Orchestra, Brand New, all of those bands inspired and changed my life, and that was the first time I ever felt. I was listening to like the Red Hot Chili Peppers, Nirvana, and like Sublime and the Beatles, and before then, and John Mayer, being a young musician, just like, oh, these are like the greats, whatever.
Right. So that's what you listen to.
And when I found, I guess it was like Modern Baseball was the first band that really felt like this is something that I discovered, and like on my own, and
that's a good feeling.
From that, all these other bands, like a whole entire universe, and that was with a style that I didn't normally listen to. That's when I found American Football and Hotelier and like all these awesome bands, and really felt like it was like something that resonated with me. And so I think that is maybe my favorite kind of, I don't even know if that's if it's the 2010s or like the 2000s to whatever, but that kind of changed my life there.
That's usually what I say too, is the 2010s. I mean, I'll acknowledge that probably a lot of that is personal connection to when I discovered like a lot of the music I love.
Right.
And
that was about when we were the age where like kind
high
of
school,
able to like identify with it, or like, make it our identity, and like
totally
find something that like actually feels like we're not being told to like it. We're just like truly like it. And we're at that age where we can be like, yeah, this is what
I'm into.
Yeah.
But it's funny when you go back to some of the things that you loved in high school and they don't quite hit the way they used to. Do you have a couple of those?
Maybe it's like, oh man, like when I was, before all that, the emo stuff, I was like Blink-182, Sum 41, like the biggest fan of Blink-182 and stuff. And I still love them to death. I'm happy Tom's back, and I'm happy they're doing some tours. But some of that stuff, you go back, like the pop punk, the poppiest of punk, like the stuff you sent to like your 6th grade girlfriend. Like
I made you a playlist.
Literally, like made you a CD, burned your CD.
Right.
That stuff is like, songwriting, it's like, this is funny, and I get why I loved this and why it was meant so much to me. But then it's funny going back as like now with like hearing music with a producer's ear to be like, dang, these All American Rejects guitars, they sound so good.
If you go back to All American Rejects, those songs still
Blink-182 self-entitled record, I listened to it the other day and I was like, oh my gosh, like this is an amazing production. So it's like, that's just exciting to open my mind to that more and be like, okay, why is this good? And
true.
And then sometimes you're like, oh, these things kind of sound kind of funny, but it's like, doesn't matter because they're timeless. And, so it's exciting. It just shows the show. It's like there's really is no rules, and really are no rules in making music. You can just make just like whatever, especially recording and producing the song. It's like making whatever fits the song and what you're trying to say and the feeling you're trying to get. That's the most important thing, because that's what people are going to resonate with,
Absolutely.
So,
I'd say that's a great note to end on.
Can
Tommy
I ask
Trautwein.
you what your favorite record is? A perfect album?
Yeah, totally. The go-to would be In Rainbows by Radiohead.
Oh, man.
But lately, I've been really getting into Kid A.
Yes.
Which I've always loved, but recently something about it has brought me back to that more.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I think In Rainbows is more perfect, but Kid A, I think, is more groundbreaking, if that makes sense.
I feel like both of those albums are like anything Radiohead does.
Totally.
Was and is like, okay,
Yeah.
this is something that I don't understand right now. I feel like Kid A was that, and I loved Radiohead. I was never a huge Radiohead fan, but like I just like loved the Ben's record, and then In Rainbows was actually like I just bought the vinyl, and like Weird Fishes.
So good.
Oh my gosh, changed my life.
Yep.
Just like this is the coolest thing I have ever heard. But then Mr. John Mayer put a cover of Kid A, the song.
What?
Yeah.
No way.
We've got heads on sticks. It was super.
Are
like,
you for real?
low.
He did this?
It's on YouTube. It's like a YouTube
Wow.
John Mayer live cover.
I had no idea.
And that got me into that song specifically and that record.
I love that song.
And I'm so thankful for it because I was like, and that cover was so different. It was just like, kind of like this dark acoustic, quiet Kid A version. And like it made me realize how pretty that song is.
Yes.
But in the recording, it's so experimental.
It's
like
one of the
hard.
slept on tunes of that album. Like I slept on it for years. I used to be like, oh, I just want to hear Everything That's Right Place, the national anthem, In Limbo, whatever. And I'd be like, all right, Kid A, like this is the weird one.
Yeah, the weird one, right?
Yeah. And then, they're all weird, but that one especially. And then within the last couple of years, that one has become the one that it's hard to say if it's my favorite on that album, but it might be. Yeah. It is it's such a journey of a song. If aliens heard that, they would be so confused about what music is, and because it's so different than anything I've ever heard in my life, even now.
I know. That's like it'd be so interesting to be in the room making that.
Right.
Like what decisions were being made and why were they accidents? Were they like experiments? That's like it's the magic of it.
Yeah, it feels more like a collage of sound than it does a song.
Somebody, I think Elijah, we're working on Elijah's record, his new record the other day, and he pulled up one of the songs from their, I don't know if it's their newest record, but the white one with like a circle.
Oh, yeah. A moon-shaped pool.
Yeah. And he pulled up a song.
Another great one.
Man, I do not remember what song it was, but it was just like a really soft one. And I was like, I remember when that record came out because I like listened to it once and I was like, that was fabulous. And I never listened to it again. Like I do that a lot.
It scratches a certain itch, but not one you need scratching all the time.
Yeah, but he showed me what the song we were kind of referencing the vibe of, and I was like, man, this band is crazy.
Yeah. They've been on it for more than 20 years. Yeah. Probably maybe 30 at this point.
I feel that way about like groundbreakingness or like things that like this is expanding my mind in a way with Ben Howard's latest record too.
And I don't know if I've ever listened to him.
I'm sure you've heard like his hits, Only Love, and he's like it was like an acoustic kind of open tuning acoustic songwriter, but now he's like making these really cool soundscape worlds.
Cool.
With really cool songs, and of course now I can't even remember the newest record's name, but
that's how it goes.
Really, really good. And
I'll check that one
There's
out.
a live record with a video of them playing at like this like radio tower station in like England. And they're all like every single band member has like 7 synths, guitars, samplers, and like they're all just like
going crazy,
making this world even live, and it's really cool. I'll show it to you.
Yeah, please.
We're done here, but. Yeah, and then also favorite and least decade. I'm gonna grill you.
Yeah, that one I've been saying worst is 80s, and I know people would crucify me for that. But that's only funny. It's only because of two things. One, the hair metal is silly, all Def Leppard, and my parents will hate me for saying that. Yeah. But like there was a lot of that.
Right.
Just like corniness, I feel like in a lot of the pop songs,
that's
and then.
Fair.
The excessive use of gated reverb. It's just excessive.
Squash.
No, it's sick. Yeah, it's sick when it is done right. And like, Sledgehammer, that song rocks.
Yeah.
There's certainly
I guess that's fair.
Great uses for it, but it was overused.
I think that's a good answer because I don't know if I can tell you like I can tell you maybe like a couple artists that I like the songs of from the 80s kind of thing. But it's funny that I feel like in modern pop music today,
Totally.
the 80s thing is here.
Huge.
Is here. It's huge. And all the corniness, all the tricks. Like,
certainly the first 1975 album was just an 80s
definitely
love record.
Exactly. Right. And like, I love that so much. But I think, those songs are just so good. And I think just all about a testament to the song too. But
right.
I think
you could dress it up in any way you want.
Exactly. But yeah, it's so funny how much when I'm producing, like how many references are like, yeah, we want to do this 80s thing. Like, all like the Dijon and McGee and like the Prince references and stuff like that kind of.
True.
It's
Prince
funny.
really held it down.
It's funny how much that is coming back in a way. But yeah, that's an interesting question.
Yeah. I would definitely say that's my go-to worst, and then favorite would probably be 2010s.
Cool.
But also 60s and 70s.
Whenever Black Eyed Peas, I Got a Feeling came out, that is the best decade.
It was actually only that day.
Only
like,
that day,
the whole decade.
That
was
the
my
best song
that was actually my ringtone, I think. For when I was in 7th grade, it was my ringtone.
Yeah, dude. Wow.
But yeah,
heck yeah.
Let's end on that note. I'd say
do it.
Tommy Trautwein
on that boat.
On
podcast.
that boat. Thank you guys for coming to On That Boat.
Yeah.
Next time we'll be on a sloop John B.
Yeah, baby. Gone fishing.
Yes.
But dude, thanks for having me, man. This has been so glad we got to do this.
Of course.
So fun.
We finally made it happen. The power did not go out.
I know. Hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully.
Back up those files, man.
Exactly. But yeah, everybody go check out Well Kept, The Inquirer. It's a banger of an album, and go check out your show October 27th and 28th at the 40 Watt.
Absolutely.
Cool. Tommy, thank you, man. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Dougie.
See ya. Thank you again for joining me for another episode of On That Note with Parker Whirling. If you haven't yet, please make sure to like and subscribe on YouTube and Apple Podcasts, and you can even leave a comment down below to let me know who you're listening to. On that note, I'll see you guys next time.